Yo, JD here, Tyrrell Limitless, and as you can see, we're on F1 2020 once again here today. And this video is probably the first taste that I've had in league racing or league racing kind of experience so far. This was a social race that I did around Australia last week, and it was the first time I'd done a proper lobby against some very competitive people. And Australia, most of the time, always being the first race on the calendar. I thought this would probably be a good warm-up to the league racing season. And this is my camera settings that people have been asking me quite a lot. So here you go. And so yeah, coming into this race, I was using the setup that I used to set the world record, but I just raised the rear wing by one click, just for a little bit more stability. And you can see so far, session's going reasonably well, currently on provisional pole, but then KJ and BG Smasher have beaten that. So this is actually my fastest that I did in the session itself. And going through into this turn one, you can see I thought that was going to be a corner cut, but
I can't believe that was
the game decided to think a little bit better of it. That's exactly what I'm saying there. But the rest of that felt pretty nice, to be honest. No real complaints. Of course, you'll be able to go much faster, hopefully, once the league racing season comes around. But so far in this game, I felt really comfortable. I felt like it suited me just so much more in terms of how the car feels and how it really suits my kind of driving style. I'm really excited on this game, and I really can't wait to get league racing underway, because I feel my goal from the last game was to obviously maintain the race pace that I had, that I felt was really good, but now to actually start to be as good in qualifying, to get a top 3, top 5 every time in qualifying. That's really the target, and if I do that, then I feel I will just not be dominant, but just have a much more of an easier ride when it comes to league racing, and also to make just better, smarter decisions as well. That's something I definitely need to improve on, which is a lot easier out of the car than it is when you're in the car. But we do come P2 in this qualifying session, and I wasn't really too disappointed at that. The lap felt pretty decent. KJ is pretty decent around here. I think he got pole in TSRL around Australia. But you can see we've got quite a competitive grid here. So yeah, I was feeling good. Going to start this formation lap now. We are rocking the old Williams livery, which has since been updated, because the next video that I will be doing online is with the updated Williams livery, which I have to say is probably my favourite on board. I really do like that. So yeah, it's going to be good. So now we've got 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And as they go out, KJ has already started the race, but I have to defend from JJ Rocks in the McLaren behind me, just about keep him maintaining my position into P2 as we get a track limit warning, which I've said so many times is incredibly brutal in this game. But KJ, I think that's a little glitch, because I think he's the host of the session.
I think his
lights actually went out about 3 seconds earlier than anyone else, but as you can see, he has slowed down, so major respect for him for doing that. GG to him, keeping it civilized at least. But yeah, it's not a great start to see that when the lights go out miles before anyone else. We did have that issue in the previous game, but it was only by half a second or so. But for 3 seconds, that's not comforting, let's put it that way. But now we're in P2. My goal was to really just keep a clean race, really, to be honest. Not crash off or get too many penalties or anything at all, because I didn't really have much. Well, I didn't really do that much practice for this one or prepare this much. And of course, being the first 50% race I've done in this game, it's really just to get a feel of how the game feels in terms of strategy, in terms of how you manage your fuel, your ERS. This is all just a testing session, really, to be honest, just to see what it's actually going to be like for the real life thing. And you can see setting the fastest lap of the race, because KJ did slow down, and we've already pulled away a little bit behind from JJ Rocks and VSR Hawks, who used to be BMG Hawks, sorry. But yeah, this game, as I was saying, I just feel really strong in this game. I feel like this is probably the best suited game it's been for me since I've been on the wheel. And I know we haven't had this game that long, but I just feel completely planted and connected to the car. And if I feel that way, as we get another track invalidating warning, that's 2 already, then I think if that continues, that trend continues, and I can really focus on my qualifying, which I need to do, then I think last season TSL was really good, but I want to go into the season and really take it by hand, not relying on penalties or people not attending races and stuff potentially and stuff like that. I really want to be putting it in my own destiny in that way, where I want to be winning with 3 races to go, 4 races to go, rather than leave it all the way to the last race pretty much here. But you can see already starting to put KJ under a little bit of pressure, as we already have our first safety car. It seems to be the case that it gets triggered quite easily again, like we did in 2019. But go to skip on that. You can see some people have actually elected to pit already, and I didn't do that. I was thinking of doing that, but I didn't do that because I thought the hard tyres is a bit of an unknown. I haven't really done much practice for them. They might be a little bit more not as durable as previously. Decided to continue, and I thought it'd probably be a little bit too early anyway. So we'll go continue now, and we're immediately being put under pressure from JJ Rocks in this race. I'm just got to make sure I stay with KJ Gamer. So going through into this turn 1, trying to get a nice smoothish exit. We do kind of off there, but he's still relatively close. And yeah, overtake is incredibly powerful in this game, as he tries to go down the inside. So that is a very ambitious move on lap 5 of the race. Now we've got plenty of the laps to go, but decided to throw it down the inside and didn't quite work out for him on that occasion. But now I'm really just trying to get into a rhythm, and now having 2 warnings already is not really the position you want to be in the first part of a race. You really want to, and saying that, I get my 3rd one, so I get a 3-second time penalty already. And we have another safety car. This time it is the virtual safety car here. And
safety car glitch?
Yeah, it seems to be that it gets triggered very easily. So maybe the safety car might have to be analysed a little bit more to see if we are going to use it in league racing. But you can see JJ Rocks is trying to overtake me, which I'm not sure why he's doing that, but go back onto normal racing conditions. And I've already got the 3-second time penalty, so I just thought just try and relax a bit more, because KJ is pretty quick around here, and just see what my natural race pace is. And as we started to go on a little bit more in this race, you could see pulled away, got over a 2-second gap to JJ Rocks, and myself and KJ are very fast at this stage in the race. And the more the laps went on, the more comfortable I was starting to feel. And you can see we're actually starting to put him under quite a bit of pressure while saving quite a bit of fuel and DRS as well, which I've always said is not exactly a bad thing. And you could just notice under braking, we're gaining a lot of time under braking. I'm really confident on the brakes on this game, and I think that's many thanks to my new load cell V3 pedals that I'm using. They're really working well on this game here. And you could just see, we do have a little bit of dirty air, but just with the setup combination, just the confidence, we're really starting to get the hang of this. And you can just see we're following very closely. And at this stage of the race, I was just feeling very good. But I was probably thinking of doing an undercut to really try and force him into a different strategy, because overtaking is quite hard around here. Although we're getting close under braking on the exit of corners through the dirty air, it's quite difficult to get on the power itself, as left is the fastest lap of the race. So we're thinking of pitting at the end of this lap. Got a nice little gap behind me. I am in the Williams, so I am in the very end of the pit lane, so no chances of being held. So he continues to another lap. I decide to take it a little bit into my own hands, and that's the thing that I really learned from the previous game. I always reacted to people rather than be proactive, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to force him into a different strategy, take it into my hands. I wasn't going to go on the mediums, because I did test the mediums a little bit in practice, and the wear was reasonably high. You really want to be going to lap 12-13 if you want to be making that to the end. So I decided to pit a couple of laps before that window. So if he wanted to go mediums, he'd really have to go on for another 2 laps, and I should be able to pull out a decent gap or if he went mediums next lap, he'd probably struggle to make it to the end. So that's really what was in my mindset at this stage. And I came out to, luckily, a nice clear track, already pulling away from Callum on this lap itself. And I just felt very, very fast in the race, really, really fast. As KJ is now coming out the pits, and we try to go around the outside into turn 1. He just about leaves me some room, and that was a very nice move, and actually quite a crucial move, because he has come out on the medium tyres, which I was very, very surprised with. And we have a nice little off-board shot supplied by me by ERL Viper. I think he sent this to me, so GG to him. And you can see a very, very nice move around this outside into turn 1. Just about left some room here. And just as I said, quite crucial as well, because if he got out ahead of me, he probably could have broken the DRS quite quickly, because the medium tyres are much faster than the hard tyres. And I did that in practice, and just from the previous games itself, it'd be quite obvious. So I'm going to try and keep him behind as long as I can, but you can already see under braking and just with the grip I have of these tyres, they're quite cold. They have very, very low grip compared to the softs, and it's going to be a bit of a mission to keep him behind here. But I'm just trying to preserve my overtake mode as much as I can, only use it when I have to. And I think there's some other people already pitting on lap 2, 3 or 4 or something. So we're really going to have to try and catch them as well. But KJ has got the DRS. He's going to be using the overtake button. I decide not to defend this really at all here. Was thinking about the outside, but decided to think better of it. And now the goal is really just to stay in his DRS zone, which I thought was going to be very, very difficult, because the difference between the compounds is quite a big difference in terms of raw lap time here. So if I can stay in this DRS zone, which I've got the DRS now, and just save the overtake button and use my fuel efficiently, which I always tend to do, then hopefully we can attack him at the end of this race, and really trying to force him to try and use his pace and potentially get a penalty or something like that, because penalties is going to be so easy to accumulate around here. So on to lap 13 now. We're still on P6, probably a net P2, although I was saying that, I said the leaders have actually pitted on lap 2 or 3, and we have been disconnected from Xbox. That's great. But the good thing is, you can actually come back in. So I've come back into the race now, and somehow, which you'll be able to see in 2 seconds time, as it just gives me the car back instantly rather than giving me a countdown. I'm actually ahead of KJ, so I don't know what happened there at all. That was really, really weird here. But now we're under attack from JJ Rocks, who's going to get past me, and I think KJ unfortunately has got damaged somehow, because I think he had to slow down or something like that. But now JJ Rocks has overtaken me, but he is also on the medium tyre. But he's going to have to make those tyres last quite a while, and quite a long time, about 15 or so laps or something like that, which is quite a long time, or even more than that actually, but about 19 laps or something, which I think is possible to get to the end, but his tyres are definitely going to be going off. But you can see at lap 17, we're managing to keep KJ behind and stay with JJ Rocks pretty nicely. So it's working very, very well so far. And the pace, I just felt the more the laps went on, just the more confident I got, because again, this is the first real league racing kind of experience for me. And yeah, so far it's feeling really, really good. I felt like on the same compound, I was roughly the same. Well, I was faster than the people, but you can see again, my controller or the wheel has actually disconnected, and
my wheel just changed.
You can hear I'm quite a bit frustrated here, but I can confirm that this is actually nothing to do with the game. This is actually to do with me having the button mapping for my DRS and overtake.
What the fuck is going on?
If you press those two buttons at the same time, which I tried to do because I was under a little bit of pressure, they actually changed the mode of the wheel. And the problem with this Fanatec is that it's very, very limited on what buttons you can change on the Xbox side of things. But I just have to remember in future to try and not press those two buttons at the same time. So I've lost a position to KJ. JJ Rocks has actually got away because of that. But now we're actually to start to put KJ under a little bit more pressure, because as I said, I think he has got a slight bit of wing damage. So I'm really going to try and overtake him as quick as I can, and try and get onto the back of JJ Rocks. So going through this turn 1, trying to get a good exit of this. Now I'm going to use the overtake button and the DRS here, and let's see what happens. Does he go defensive, semi-defensive? A lot of people just park it in the middle, and so I try to go around the outside of him, get pushed ever so slightly wide, go down the inside, and I don't know if that was a mistake or he just decided to let me go because he has damage. But nevertheless, we managed to get that position done. And now we've got JJ Rocks, who's about 4 seconds ahead of me. And you can see he's skipping on to another couple of laps. He actually extended the gaps, and the medium tyres are still working pretty well at this stage in the race as we have a screen freeze now.
What is a screen freeze, man?
Not the smoothest of running from my first experience playing online.
I've just lost a second.
We just lost a second there, so it's gone from 4.5 to 5.5. But they're moving on to lap 25. The mediums is now starting to go off, and the gap has gone to under 4 seconds again. But you can see the gap has gone down drastically now because I think there was a little bit of an incident up ahead of me as KJ has pitted behind me now. So we have an opportunity to get back at JJ Rocks and potentially the leaders, because the leaders' tyres, although they're on the hards as well, they are on a much older compound than myself, and you can gain so much time just through tyre wear and stuff like that. But you can see we have brought that gap down, and I think the mediums are now really starting to go off here. So this is confirmation as we don't get the DRS, and I think JJ Rocks, gets the DRS in the car ahead. And let's see if we can actually make any sort of an impact. You can just see visually the grip we have for that corner. It's just much more, and you can see it on the next lap now starting to put him under quite a bit more pressure. And I want to get this move done nice and early to see if there's any possibility of catching the people up ahead in case they have a puncture or even time penalties, because I think we'd have just the one time penalty at this stage in the race here. So going through into this fast left right chicane, go slow in, fast out, and get quite a nice exit. He runs onto the curb. We're going to use the not going to use the overtake button, just going to use the DRS, and he parks his car in the middle of the track here, so no real way to really get past us. You try and use the overtake, go into this right hander, try and put him offline here, and we almost lose the car. So a nice snap of oversteer, which you managed to just correct. And let's see if we can try and get him going into this turn one. So going off this last corner, and he's probably going to be using overtake button here. So you really have to judge when you think someone is using the overtake button. So now I plan to get a really good exit coming off this turn one. He goes in slightly deep, gets a little bit squiggly on the exit, as do I as well. Now I'm going to use the overtake and DRS, and let's see what he does. Does he go into the middle of the track? No, he doesn't. He leaves me with some room on the outside, but I actually outbrake myself. Go into the gravel, and the move, as we have another screen freeze anyway, so I think we probably would have lost that position again regardless if I overtook him. But that is a move attempt failed. But we're going to move on to the last lap. You can see the gap is about 3 or so seconds here, and we're just going to see what the gap is. You can see the gap going across the line is a 2-second gap. And on this last lap, we've got quite a lot of the overtake button and the fuel available, and you will just be able to see the power of this mode if you harvest it correctly. And obviously we have better tyres at this stage in the race. You can just see how much you can actually catch up to someone. And you can see already in this first sector, it's about almost half a second in sector 1 alone that we have actually caught up. So leaving it in the rich mode, fuel is actually very easy to save around here. Some tracks it isn't, like with the overtake mode. Overtake is very easy to harvest at some tracks, but tracks like Zandvoort, it's literally impossible to harvest it at all. And you can see already, gained almost another half a second, took a second out of the leader, or the second place man, going through this lap alone. And you can see we're already in this DRS zone, so you can just see the power. If you can just drive at a constantly good raw speed, you will be having a lot of fun in this game. And there could even be an opportunity to overtake him going towards the line. So going through into this penultimate corner now, we always make up a lot of time under the brakes, almost going to the back of him actually. In fact, Christo actually wins the race coming off this last corner. Let's see if there's any opportunities to go on the... And I did exactly the same thing again. Trying to do the overtake button and the DRS button at the same time. It's a very horrible thing with Fanatec on Xbox. You can't change these buttons. But I don't think I would have got that position done anyway. But as we can see, once we go past these things that come up at the end of the race, we did come home in P3 because I only had 1 3-second penalty and JJ Rocks had a penalty itself. So an up and down first experience, but I think the pace is very promising And you will be able to see that in the next race I'm going to upload is that Zandvoort, where I really did take it up another level. I hope you're enjoying this game so far. Thank you for the support of my channel as always, and I'll catch you very, very soon. Peace.